Hello everyone and welcome to Andy's Shed Live for this Sunday the 6th of June 2021. This is Series 8, Episode 23. Hello there everybody, how are you today? Hope you're having a good one, or a bit earlier than normal. You may have noticed there is good reason for us to be earlier today. We're trying to get off air a bit earlier so we don't clash with Martin Zero, who's doing a stream at around about 7 o'clock tonight. For those of you who don't know who he is, Martin Zero is a chap from Manchester. He's not a million miles away from me, who does all kinds of historic industrial archaeology, going looking through old tunnels and stuff like that. If you like the stuff that we do on disused railways, you'll like Martin Zero. So the idea is that we're going to try and clear off by 7 o'clock tonight to leave the way open for him, so that you don't have to choose. Basically, you can watch one or the other. And if you do go to see him later, tell him you've come from me. Right, where are we? Hello to everybody who is in the chat tonight. Hello Dominic, Christopher, Wesley, Penfold, various people there in the chat. If you want to join the chat as well, you can join. If you're watching live on YouTube, it's the old YouTube chat that we are using there. If you are watching after the event and you want to get in touch with us though, you can still do it via our website, which you can find here, andyshed.corepress.net. That is the place to go. And if you want to join our growing rank of patrons for just the equivalent of one pound a month and get your name on the credits, then you go here at patreon.com/AndyShed, and that is how you do that. Okay, we'd better crack on. It's a short one tonight. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who sent photos and that this week. We haven't got time to squeeze them into the show tonight, with it being a shorter one and a bit earlier and a bit all messed up. But we'll get them all on next week. So if you're thinking about sending us some photos and you've not done it already, send your photos in and we'll get them all on next week. Dominic says he's had a closer look at the KCOM boxes in Hull, the KCOM telephone boxes. Apparently there's some modern phone boxes gone up in Hull, and yeah. Maybe they're losing some of the cream ones, some of the old cast iron ones. I hope not. Wesley says I watched a video last year on Martin Zero's on the Bila Viaduct. Is it Bila? Is that how you pronounce it? It was very interesting. Right, I'm just scanning through the chat. See who's here, who's not here, and whatnot. Oh, and I've got to say hello to the trolls as well, because we had a troll last week. Go and have a look at the comments from last week if you're not aware of it. But yes, we had a troll last week. So hello to the trolls who register a brand new YouTube account because they're too scared to leave comments in their own name. Hello, you know who you are. Right, we'll crack on, shall we? We'll get it moving. By the way, are we in sync? If I do this, are we reasonably in sync tonight? Let me know. I know you're about 30 seconds behind, so I'll waffle now for 30 seconds while somebody tells me if we're in sync or not. Wesley says he's back on his push bike as of last night. Where are you biking to, Wesley? Where on earth are you going on a push bike? Oh, we're about a second out, Wesley says. Oh, that's not very good. I'll tell you what, we will try and see if we can get it a bit closer. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in just a moment. And we're back like we've never been anywhere. Hello, welcome back. We're back on again. Wesley says, I just had a peek at the trolls' comments from last week. I don't think you or anyone was having a dig at Bob's site. No, neither do I. But they're trolls, aren't they? So what amuses me about it is that troll obviously watched a huge chunk of this video last week. And because they watched through commercial break, so they made me a bob or two. So if the trolls want to watch and leave trolly comments, provided they watch the content, hey, I don't care. In fact, the more comments that are left, good or bad, the more YouTube likes it, the more YouTube promotes your video. So yeah, trolls, come on down, yeah. That's what I say. Right. Right, where are we? I'm just looking what other people are saying in the chat there. Right, okie dokie. Chris was on about junction boxes. So they put an old junction box on my 746L. He did. I think we showed you that phone a couple of weeks back. Something else we showed you a couple of weeks back was this. This here. This is actually a telephone 150. But it was originally telephone number 2. But it's been converted away from a telephone number 2 because it was still telephone number 2. It wouldn't have a dial on it. It has now got a dial on it, which is, of course, a dial number 10. And as you can see, it's all jammed up and that. So I thought today what we would do would be we'd have a go at trying to sort out this dial number 10 and see if we can get it spinning. So the way to do it, the way to get the dial off one of these candlesticks, first of all, is you may have to take the base off of the phone. So big screw in the middle of the base of a genuine candlestick. Take your big screw out. And then you can kind of see what's wired up and what's not. Now, if you tap on that now, where you've taken the screw out of, the top of the phone should push out like that. Okay, and provided you've not got any cords, and of course I've not got any cords on this because they've all been cut off, you can pull all the innards out like that, and you can see the remains of the cords there. And of course the dial's not wired up or anything in there either at the moment. So what we'll do, we'll put all these bits to one side and we'll concentrate on this bit now. So to get the dial off, look, here basically, and you'll see a screw through there. Can you see that? That screw through there. take that little screw out there, the bottom one, there's one above it there, but for now just take this one out. And put it to one side, then hopefully all of this is twist it round very slightly and it all comes apart like that. So now you've got your dial here now. So again, we can put this to one side. Cool. Doing well so far. Dominic says, who is Bob, may I ask? Bob Freshwater, Dominic, is a guy who runs a rather good website that's got a lot of information on it. But the trouble with it is, it relies on other people giving him a lot of the information. And sometimes people make mistakes. So the information on the website is not always correct. Like information on any website is not always correct, because they get it from other places, of course. And that's the point that I was making last week. Information you get online is only as good as the source of the information, and it's not always right. And I have found things on there that are wrong. So there you have it. It's not all fact checked. Right, so here we are. We've got a dial 10 now. You'll notice this dial 10 that we've got here has got the normal size dial label holder in the middle. Some of the early ones had a smaller one, but they're still dial 10s. But this has got the normal one. So we'll try and ping out this little circlip thing. I may need a smaller screwdriver to get it. I might be able to get it with this one. Yeah, I've got it with this one. So this is just like on 200 and 300 series. This just pings out like that. And you can see that this dial is black. That is correct. It's probably made out of brass, but it's chemically blackened. It's not painted, I don't think. I think it's done with a chemical to blacken the brass. So this is now blackened. Now I've got to get that rusty screw out in the middle of there. What do you think the chances are? Oh, good! It's actually going. Oh no, I didn't expect that to go as easy as that. Penfold says, potatoes, are they for making vodka? I hadn't thought of that, Penfold. Maybe, you never know. Who do you think I am, Big Clive? Right, so we can take the finger wheel off and then just look at the state of that. I don't know if you can see under the lights, but can you see the state of that? That is rather mucky, and it's also got a big chunk out of it. Now, again, these are on what I think is a copper or brass base, and then it's actually an enamel dial. Now, enamel is basically glass, and so it's very brittle. So if it gets a knock, you can break the enamel, and that's exactly what's happened here. Look, and we've got number 4 missing basically there. So the enamel is quite damaged there. So I'm not quite sure what we'll end up doing about that. But next thing we need to do is get this enamel face off. So I do need to go for a much smaller flat blade on my screwdriver. which is, where is it? Is it that one? So small I can't see it. Yeah, it's that one. Put them back in there for now. And the tiny little flat blade, and around the outside of here, although it's difficult to see with this being so dirty, but around the outside of here is a wire clip, and what we've got to do is try and ping out the end of that like we pinged out the end of the circlip that went round there. There's kind of a bigger one now that goes around here that is much more difficult to get at, and we've got to now try and ping that one out as well. Oh, it's coming, it's moving. Now this is where, if you're not very careful, you damage the dial some more. And I don't know of an easier way of doing this. If anybody does, let me know. There we go, got it. See how rusty that is. So put that to one side as well. Now if I turn this upside down now, this dial plate with the numbers on should fall out, but it's probably not going to because it's so gunky. It's almost falling out. It will help get it out if I take the finger stop off. And on this case, on dial 10, it's held on by two tiny screws there on the back. So are they going to move? I think I need to go back to my bigger end on my screwdriver so I don't mangle the screws up. Yep. Surprisingly they are, or at least that one is. Is this one going to move as well? Yeah. And I swear I've not already done this. I've not like had this apart and put it back together again to make it easy for when I'm live, because that would have been far too good an idea for me to manage. Take these out. Some of that new music that we've used on the intro, some of it is very catchy. There's one particular tune that's really got stuck in my head. So that's the finger stop, and again you see it's black, and there is a little code or something written on that. Can't read it, it's too small, but there is something written on there. Right, so now there we go. So there is the damaged enamel dial, which I think is copper. I think it's enameled copper, and I'm not sure if that's the same as on a dial 12, an original one from a dial 12. It might be. So I have to think about what I'm going to do about that. So I'll put it to one side for now. And then inside, the dial is pretty much like any other dial, but it is a seized solid. So I'll just try and, I can feel the spring. It's wanting to rotate, but it's just having a hard time rotating. So I'm just seeing if it's the, I think it will go with a bit of oil. So what I'm going to do now is basically deliberately over oil this, so the oil gets into all the nooks and crannies, because it's very, very dry. So I'm going to deliberately over oil it a bit, and see where that gets us. So, alright, trusty light oil, and any light oil will do, 3-in-1 oil, anything like that. Do not put WD-40 on it, because WD-40 dries up and attracts all the dust and things. But any light oil will do. You don't have to buy ridiculously expensive oil, sewing machine oil or anything like that. 3-in-1 oil will do. This is from Wilko's here in the UK. That's what it is, and I've used it for years without any problem. Alright, and already you can now see it's worked its magic now. The oil's in there and it's going back, and we have to make sure this clutch is working. This clutch, this double gear thing here, this, the small wheel should rotate on its own when you're dialing, when your finger's in the dial and you're dialing. So when it's going that way round, the small wheel should rotate on its own, but which it is doing. Look, can you see that small wheel rotating pretty much on its own most of the way? But then it should lock with the big wheel below it and turn the governor when it's coming back, which it does. So you can see that seems to be working. So what I'm going to do now is just stick the finger wheel back on for a minute on its own. Just so that I've got something to get a bit of leverage on, stick my finger in, and just to work the dial a bit so the oil works in. It gets dragged around all those teeth on those little cogwheels and things. And we can also see now reasonably what speed it's doing, and it's a little bit slow, as you can see. 1001. It's a bit slow. 1001. And I can hear, I can feel as it goes back, like I can feel teeth in cogs, which you can't normally do, but I can feel cogs meshing together, and you can't normally. They're normally smooth. No, I am now. Wondering. Now there's bits missing off this, isn't there? Maybe you spotted it. There's no stack on the back of it. So that's why this dial wasn't wired up, because this phone has been messed with, because there's no stack of contacts on the back of here. So I'm going to have to steal those off of something else probably. So this dial 10 is not in any way, shape or form complete. The fact is the spindle straight in the middle, because I'm looking at this now, and that is catching on there. That's what it should do basically, and then that should go all the way around there as far as I'm aware, like that, and then that should come back and go da 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 da, all the way back like that. But I think something on this spindle on the back of here is not particularly as it should be. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil down into the spring in there, just to help with it rotating a bit. What I don't want to do is particularly to oil this. I don't want to get any oil on that there, that kind of copper coloured bit on there, because that is like a clutch mechanism and I don't really want to get oily stuff on that. No, I don't think that should be touching that. Or should it? Right, this is a bit different, this being a dial 10. I need to do a bit of research on this, because what I'm trying to figure out is if this piece here should be touching this or not. Should it go over it like that, or should it hit it like that to hold it back? I am far from certain on that, so I'm going to leave that for now and we'll find out later. And we'll come back to that, because I've got to come back to it, because it's got to have a load of contacts put on the back of there that are missing. So it now makes you wonder if it is a proper dial 10 or if it's a dial 12 masquerading as a dial 10. It's definitely a 10. I can see a number 10 on it there, written on there. Right, can we get that under a camera so you can see it, perhaps? Let's see if I can. Can you see that? Can you see the number 10? Does it say MK29 over 256? Is that what it says? But it definitely says number 10 at the side of it. So it is definitely a dial 10 that we've got. As you, oh, I forgot I'd defocused you. Right, so it's definitely a dial 10 that we're dealing with here. Just getting the focus back. That's it. And it's still running a little bit slow. So like I say, I'm kind of deliberately over oiling it to get the oil running into everything where I want it to run. Then we'll wipe most of it off again later, once it's had a proper good oiling. Well oiled, as they say, well oiled. Right, so put it back together again. And then we'll see how we're getting on. Work it a bit. It's certainly going easier. But what I want to know is if that should go past that thing there. So when you put your finger in, see how it's touching it there, and then the inner bit goes round, the bottom bit goes round. But as it goes further round, it's kind of not flat on the spindle, and as it goes further round, it passes. You see that pass there? But what I want to know is, should it do that? Or is that because something is bent? Should it hit that all the way and stay there? Or should it pass? I'm not certain. So if anybody knows, let me know. Right, what's everybody saying in the chat while we're pondering on this? I've kind of ignored it a bit. I've been engrossed in that. Oh, Jimmy's here. Evening, Jimmy. Says, oh heck, I've missed a bit. Yeah, Jimmy, we've started a bit earlier. Sorry about that, but you should be able to do DVR if you want to watch it back. You should be able to scroll back and watch it from the start, you know, like on-demand video. Dominic says, something that still surprises me is just how quiet the dial 10s are. Yeah, the 12s are quiet as well. But yeah, this is absolutely silent actually. Or very nearly silent. But I think it's running a bit slow. Do you know, Dominic, then, if that bit on the back of there, if that should be able to get past, if that should be able to go past that or not? Because it hits it for a while, then as you keep turning the dial round, it then lifts and goes past it. And I don't think that's a feature that it should do. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that is something that's wrong with this, that it's bent. Do you happen to know? Fatty and Penfold said, I didn't know that we were on at 5:30. Was watching YouTube and found it starting early. Andy wants to see Martin Zero, he says, later on, who is starting at 7. Yeah, basically we've done it so we don't clash with Martin Zero. That's why we've come on a bit earlier than we normally would. Dominic says he's not sure if that bit should go past, but he can take his out and have a look. If you would at some point, Dominic, I'd appreciate it. If you can just have a look at the back. So you're clear with what we're asking, aren't you, Dominic? That stop thing there, that little thing there, that little pip is up against at the minute. What we want to know is when you actually put your finger in the dial and dial round, what we want to know is that long protrusion thing is hitting up against it there, and it's pushing that around, but eventually it slides over the top. Should it slide over the top, or is it just because the spindle is bent, so this kind of plate that protrusion is part of is not sitting flat? So as the spindle goes round, it's kind of up at one side. I don't know if you can see that by looking down there, sort of thing. It's raised at one side. So I don't think that should go past, personally. I think that should stay there and then reset there. I think it should do that, but I'm not 100% certain. So that's what I want to know. Should that be able to go past that stop there once it gets part way around, which it is doing? See, it gets part way, it's up against the stop, and it gets part way around, and then it goes past. I don't think it should, but I'm not certain. Fungi, it says, I've never seen a dial unit totally black. Is it unusual? No, not on these early ones. It's not. They tend to be made out of brass or copper. Not normally brass. I always thought they were brass, but this one does look as if it's made out of copper. Kind of looking inside the finger wheel where the black's worn off, you know, inside the holes, and it does look like copper, but I'd be surprised if it is. I would have thought copper would be too soft. Is copper softer than brass, isn't it? But it does look coppery. But they are black and should be black. And as I've been handling this tonight, it was kind of a greeny colour, wasn't it? Which could point to it being copper. But it's now looking black again, which is how it should be. These early candlestick telephones, everything on them was black. You know, everything was black. When you see them with polished brass bits and that's wrong. All the brass bits should be brass, but they should be black. They shouldn't be shined up. Right. Right, I'm just going to work this dial a little bit more while we go for a quick break. If you're watching live, this will be very quick. And we're back. Told you it'd be quick. So I've worked this dial a bit more, and there's one or two people saying it is so quiet. I'm going to shut up a minute while I do this, so you can hear the noise it's not making. Oh, sorry, I didn't realise you're not watching it, are you? Sorry. I'm miles away today. Right, there you go. Now, let's compare that to the noise a dial 12 makes. Yeah, definitely more noise from a dial 12. Although this is incomplete, obviously the contacts and things are missing off the back of there, which we've got to find from somewhere. So when you take that, yeah, dial 10 out, Dominic, any chance you could take a photo of the back of it, please, so I can see exactly what I'm missing on this? Because there's definitely a stack of contacts, some of which should be up this side and some of which should be up this side missing. So I'm definitely missing bits on here. Right, so I think we need to speed it up a little bit still. So the oil should have worked well into it now. You can see the mess it's made on the desk. So to speed it up a bit, I'm going to have to bend in the governor arms slightly, just very slightly. Bend those inwards, and it does only have to be slightly. It's almost imperceivably small, the amount that you have to do that to really make a big difference to the dial. And it's trial and error, as with them all, as with dial 10s, dial 12s, dial 21s. It's a bit of trial and error. Oops, I'm dropping the screwdriver now, it slipped out my hand with the oil. Let's see if that's made it faster. 1001. No, it's not really, has it? Maybe I didn't bend it enough. So what you're aiming to do is the balls on the end of the governor that run in that little cup thing down there, you're aiming to bend these arms so those balls start out closer to the centre. And now the problem is, if you bend these arms in the middle, they spring back and it actually makes the balls wider out than they were before. So you've really got to figure out how to make them go inwards. Right, I've done that a bit more, and that's made a massive difference to it now. That tiny amount again has made a massive difference this time, that will be immediately apparent when I put this back on. So now we do it round to where the finger stop would be, and as you know, we say 1001, we let go, and as we stop speaking, that's when the dial should come back to its resting point. So 1001, 1001. Might be a little bit quick now, that 1001. Yeah, it's a little bit quick now, that. So we take it apart again, and as far as I know, there's no other way of doing it, and we mess with the governor again. And this time what we're trying to do is straighten it out a bit. So let's see what we've done this time. So we're trying to make the balls a little bit further out from the cup this time. So, no, I thought I might get away without tightening the whole thing up, but no, I've got to tighten it up. One 1001, 1001, 1001, 1001. No, too fast now, so we've got to slow that down again. It's trial and error, and obviously you don't want to bend this governor spring too much, and these arms on this governor, because eventually, you know, you're bending them, you'll fracture and break up if you do it too much. So you want to do it as little as possible, really. So that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to do it as little as is humanly possible. Now what we done? Now it's running. Really fast now. That might be better. So let's have another go. We'll get there eventually. Where have I put the screw now? Is that? Oh, it's here. That's it. So that's what we've done now. So I've had another bend of the thing. Dominic's asking a question. He says, "Where do you get the music from for the that we play before the show while we're waiting for everybody to join the stream?" It is from the YouTube music library, Dominic. That's where it comes from. YouTube has its own music library, and that is where it comes from. So it's all sort of guaranteed to be copyright free and all that malarkey. Now that's a little bit better, I think. 1001, 1001, 1001. Yeah, that's much better. That is. So I think we can put a few things back together on this now. What we'll do is we'll give this a bit of a wash, though, I'm a reckoning. So I will be back in just a moment. And I'm back. Here we are. Does that look better? Right, all I've done, a little bit of dish soap and water. Nothing more than that. Just to clean that up. And you can see I've got a big chunk missing here. Now what you could do, if you were so inclined, would be to fill that and then paint a number back on. And it's got a lot of similarities to ceramic restoration, this, doing this. So if you're good at ceramic restoration, you could probably do this. But what this is basically, this is a piece of copper that's bent to shape, and then the the enamel is put on the surface, and the enamel is melted on. Basically, it's essentially glass, and of course it cracks and then bits fall off. So unfortunately that's what's happened to this, but we're going to put it back in the dial for now, just for the sake of completeness. So we will stick this back in. So what we have to do here is put this back in, like so. And those holes in it are where these little tiny screws for the finger stop are going to possibly poke through. So you have to line it up so you can see daylight through the holes. Like that. Then the finger stop goes on like that on the back. Oh, hang on, before I put the finger stop on, I want to put this thing on, this circlip, because that'll be easier. So we'll put that on. Now this is a bit rusty. They're not normally rusty, but this phone's had a hard life. So we start with one end of the circlip, one end of those two little holes, one side of them. There, so end of that there, this side of those two little holes, like so. And then the other end will hopefully be the other side of the two little holes. Because on later dials it's sometimes possible to get this dial plate off without actually having to take the finger stop off. So that's all held together now. I can sort of see daylight through the holes. It has moved a little bit. Can I just touch it round a bit? With a pin or something. There we go. That's hooked it round. Now I can see daylight through those holes again. Don't know if you can see that. Right. So now the finger stop, and this was definitely brass. I would say this. There's a bit of brassy colour on the back there, but again it's been blackened. So it fits on the back of there like that. And then we have these two little tiny screws to drop back in. Don't do it up tight, just do it up enough to hold it in there for now, because you've got to waggle the finger stop about to get the other one in line, obviously. So there's the other screw. So they're both on now. Right. Okay. So what we can now do is we can do those up. Again, don't do them up too tight. I mean, these little screws, they're black, but I think they're probably brass screws, so they're quite soft, so don't waller them up too tight, otherwise you'll damage the heads on them. So just do them up nicely, just enough, and there we have it. So next thing then now is to slip the finger wheel back on like that. And the big screw in the middle of the finger wheel. Then there's your dial label cover. Now these go horrible like this, as you can see. You can't see through it, it's dirty, it's even got a hole in it, this one. It's gone brittle and got a hole in it. So I normally replace these, and on these they're easy to replace, unlike on a 700 series, because on the dial 10s and 12s it's just a flat piece of like acetate or something. So, you know, get a bit of plastic packaging or something, cut a round bit out, and you know you're good to go. One thing you do have to do is cut a little notch in it, just there at the bottom there. Can you see that little notch? And that's because when you put this ring on, the one end of that ring, you can see, has got a downward facing bit on it, and that goes through a little tiny hole in the bottom of the dial there. It's to help you put it on, because it locks that end into place when you're putting the other end on. But obviously for it to go through that hole, there's got to be a notch in this for it to also go through. So you need to line that notch up with that hole at the bottom of the dial there, You line all that up, and then that bent piece on the end of there has to go into that hole like that. Then you just kind of roll it round and it all clips back in nicely like that. So there, then you have it. And that's the dial, looking a bit better than it did, but at least now it rotates. 1 1001, 1 1001, 1 1001, 1 1001. So there you have it. That is that I believe is it. I think. Right. So we're getting somewhere. We've managed to put that back together now. So if we want to put that back into the phone, just get a bit of the phone. Now these, I normally say to people, don't repaint these, leave them alone as they are, but this one is particularly rusty. So this one might end up getting repainted, or at least the bottom bit of it might end up getting repainted, because it is really, really rusty. But this has got two little bits where there's kind of, can you see, I don't know if you can see that there, there's kind of a dink, an outwards dink in the frame there, and there's one there as well. And that's to allow these little pimples on the end of these to lock into. So you put that dial on with those like that, and then you give it a little twist like that, and then you can't get it off again. And to make sure it stays where you've twisted it to, now you have to put that screw back in through that little hole under there. So that screw is basically going through the base of the phone and screwing into a bracket on the back of the dial. And these ones are notoriously difficult to get in, because you're working at such a weird angle, you're not quite upright, and it kind of fools your mind when you're trying to put it back in. This is where a screwdriver that holds the screw of some description would probably be helpful. But those screwdrivers that hold the screws, both the magnetic ones and the fancy ones with the split blade that expand in the screw slot, sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they're actually a hindrance, I find. For anybody that's wondering, this little screwdriver thing that I use all the time, that's got all the different bits on it that sort of live inside it like that, I actually got this out of one of the pound shops. I don't know if it was Poundland or Pound World, but you can buy them all over the place. But it's actually metal, this. It's a really nice thing. So that's all screwed back together now. It's a little bit loose, that, but it's not going anywhere. That's it. Tightened it up now. So now, there we have it. And they are amazingly quiet. You're right, Dominic, they are quiet. So that's that. That's the dial back in. But the problem that we've discovered tonight is that there's bits missing off that dial, which is probably why it wasn't wired up. Because it couldn't be wired up, because the terminals that should be on the back of the dial are missing. So we'll see what we can do. I'm hoping there'll be enough interchangeability between dial 10s, 12s and 21s that I can maybe use some bits off a dial 21 or some bits off a dial 12 to get this 10 going again, because dial 10s are a bit few and far between, and when you do find one, you don't really want to be cannibalising one to get another one going. You know, you want to keep every one of them going that you can, really. While we're messing with this, might as well have a look at the rest of the candlestick, haven't we? And assess the rest of it. So here's the main body of it that sort of just slides out of this base piece when you take the bottom off. So here's the gubbins of it, and this is pretty much what it should look like. This is actually quite a nice one. Again, it's got most of its black finish still on it, if you can see. It's all black. Look, none of it is polished, so it's quite a nice one. And basically all there is a switch hook inside a candlestick phone, and it's here, and as you can see it opening the contacts there, and closing one on the back as well, actually. And that's how that all works. And then all your wires and things should by rights terminate on these 6 terminals here. You've got 2 wires here, and these look like original cloth covered ones here that are going up into your mouthpiece, and they look like the original thing there, so we'll try and keep them if we can. And then here, this is all tied together here. I don't know if I can untie this so we can see where things go. So I'll untie that there. That is just tied up neatly. See? But these are your terminals and things. Now I don't know what's been going on in here. Here is one cord that's been cut. This one was terminated on the base, so this was a ground type thing, terminated on the base. I don't know what this odd black one here should do. I'm not sure if this should be a ground as well. It's a very crispy wire though, that is. And then going to your mouthpiece, it looks like was originally 2 green wires on this. And that should basically have gone up to your mouthpiece. No, sorry, your earpiece rather, not your mouthpiece. It should have gone up to your earpiece. So I think that is right, but I'll have to do a bit of double checking on that to find out what should be on where. All this is held on with nice brass nuts. That one is loose. Something is missing off that terminal there by the looks of it, because all the others seem to have got double nuts. That's only got one. So So I need to try and find out what's missing off there. And that, but it's actually pretty good. We'll get a wiring diagram and take all these bits off and rewire it, and it's in pretty good condition. The spring is good on the switch hook. They're sometimes not so great, you know, and the thing doesn't lift up when you take the receiver off the hook. You know, sometimes the hook doesn't spring back up again. But that's looking pretty good. I'm quite impressed with that. So we're going to stuff all that back inside here for now. I'm not going to do those things up again because basically I don't need to, because all them bits of wire are obviously coming off. Got little bits of cut wire are no good. We want proper wires, full wires, so we can get the thing working again. So all that lot's got to shove back down. Back on like that. So this cap comes over the inner tube there, as you can see, and you can see the original black finish there. So that comes over there like that, and then the end has come through the middle of there. So then we have to get the base again, and the base has a little divot out of it here. Can you see that's got a divot out of it? And that divot is out of the base because somewhere on the edge of this will be a bit that's pinged inwards, if you can feel for it, and I think it's there. You can sometimes feel for it better than see it. Yeah, it's there. It's just pinged inwards a bit. When they've made it, they've just hit it with a punch or something on the outside there and just pinged that bit inwards a bit, and that is to make this register. I'll just put all the bits inside there for now. But that bit that's pinged inwards there just goes to that divot there. It's basically so the base doesn't want to spin round on you. Then do up the screw in the middle, which then holds up nicely, and that one screw basically holds the entire thing together. So there you have it, one candlestick phone back in sort of one piece. But yeah, it's quite a nice thing that I quite like that. What I've not done yet is I've not had the transmitter apart, which isn't easy to do actually. If I move that there like that, so we've not had this apart. I need to refocus it. There we go. Now there should be 4 screws in this, one top, one in bottom, one on each side. The 2 in the sides are missing, but we can have a look what's in there. Now I've never taken one of these apart before, so I've got no idea what's in it. So we'll take the top one out, and we'll just hold it together while we loosen the bottom one as well. And even the little screws are black. Don't know if you've noticed. Helps if you get the right camera, doesn't it? Even the little screws are black. So there we go. So they're out. So should be two in the sides as well, but they're missing. I've only got the top and the bottom one. So I've taken that out now. Now it does. Oh yeah, it does. It comes off. Oh blimey! And what's all that that's fell apart inside there? So something was in there and has completely disintegrated over the years, and it looks like a ring that was in there. Can you see? That's the last remaining piece of it there. So what was that and what did it do? Because I've got all bits of it now on the desk. But yeah, there you have it, and that is an amazingly complex thing. I'm not going to go any further with that because that is so different to what later ones are, that I need to do some research before I go any further with that, particularly as bits have dropped out. You know, are those bits that have dropped out crucial? Is the question. I have a feeling they might not be, but I don't know for certain. So interesting stuff. Very interesting. We'll have to have a little look at that. But that just slots back in, and then I can put those tiny screws back in. One in the top of there. I dropped it, but I can see it. Luckily, I kind of knew I was going to do that. I'm going to stand up and do it so it's easier. Last person probably dropped a couple as well. That's probably why there's two missing. But again, this is really difficult to line up and get in. That's it's going now. Right. That one's in. So I think I'll lay it down to try and get the one that's underneath. There you can see are the bits that have come out. So I've now got to try and get this final tiny screw, this one, into this little hole under here, and I'm going to try and start it with my fingers if I can. won't let me start it with my fingers. Let's see. Trouble is with the screws being black, they're difficult to see. It's difficult to see which way the slot is in the head. That's its thing. So there we go. We've put it back together, and I think that will do us nicely for now. Just as we come up to 7 o'clock, so we'll make way for Martin Zero in a moment. Just chance to check out a few of the comments here that are in the chat. Fungi says, did my pics get to you a few days ago, Andy? I had problems attaching emails. Yeah, I think they did, Fungi. We're going to put all the pictures on next week that people have sent in, because quite a few people have sent pictures, so we'll try and get all those on next week if we can. Penfold says, put a bit of grease or Vaseline on the end of the screws to keep them held in place on the screwdriver. Clean the grease off afterwards. Yeah, white grease works well for that. Actually, that is a good tip. White grease can do that. It's because it's just sticky enough to do it. The other thing is the tiniest bit of blue tack or something like that. You can do it with as well. Fat Hobbit says, watch out for that screwdriver, I'm worried it'll slip and you'll get injured. Yeah, it happens all the time, Fat Hobbit. Happens all the time. Dominic says, another place that he's visited is the Goxhill, which had a lovely Great Central Railway signal box and a wheel-operated lever crossing. Many similar signal boxes were on the LD and ECR after the GCR took it on. And Christopher says, my new GPO 746 phone I got 2 days ago, I put the old GPO junction box on it now, and he's got a video of it on his new telephone channel, Christopher 2000 telephone channel. So you can go watch him as well tonight. I've set you a lot of homework to go and watch tonight, aren't I? Martin Zero and Christopher 2000 telephone channel. Right, I think we've cracked it. I think we've sorted this now. And it's almost bang on 7 o'clock. How good is that? That we've almost done that spot on time. Right, I am going to disappear a little bit earlier then, because like I say, we're going to make way for Martin Zero on YouTube. If you want to watch him, do a little YouTube search for Martin Zero. He's a Manchester lad. Look for his channel. And hopefully if you go to his channel homepage, hopefully you'll see that he's got a live stream coming up in about 2 minutes time. But that is about a wrap from me here for this week. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us here at the show, you can do. If you don't know the email addresses and things, then initially get in touch with us through the contact form on the website andyshed.coldpress.net. It just filters out the spam box and things, that does. That's andyshed.coldpress.net. And of course, if you want to support the show and support what we do, if you've enjoyed seeing me sorting this thing out tonight and want to see more, then maybe you'd consider supporting us on Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/AndyShed, and for just £1 a month, although it sometimes shows you it in US dollars, but it is actually £1 a month that you end up giving, so it's like $1 and so many cents. If you'd like to support us on there, that would be great. And if you do support us, not only do you get extra sort of blog content in the week when I'm doing stuff, but you also get your name on the end credits. And talking of the end credits, they are going to be coming your way in any minute now. So, I am handing the live baton on to Martin over there across the other side of the Pennines, as we say here in Derbyshire, out there in Manchester. I have no idea what he's going to be doing. Yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy his stream as much as you've enjoyed this one. Remember, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, and if you've not subscribed already, remember, hit that subscribe thing as well. So yeah, we'll see you here next week, probably 5:30 again next week, folks. So don't get caught out, probably 5:30 again next week. Okay, I'll see you soon. The end screen is coming up. Get your name in lights on Patreon. From me, for now, have a great week ahead. See you soon.